How's it going, everybody? We're back with Three Scoops Podcast. I'm Ron.
I'm Kel.
And I'm Rob.
And today we're going to go full on with the Avengers Endgame. Full spoilers, full review, full talking, everything about it. Everything that we think about it. We're going to give it to you guys right now.
In-depth breakdown.
In-depth breakdown.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Rob, start us off. What are we going to talk about now?
Well, first off, we're going to talk about the intro, the cold opening, all the way up until...
Oh, right. So that's kind of a chilling moment right at the beginning. Okay, so you have Hawkeye hanging out with his family.
Yes.
Okay, and at this point, you already know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's just all about like how this is going to go down. Yeah. How you know it's coming. You know that his family is going to get dusted, and if you've seen the trailers, you know that he survives it.
Yes.
So, you're kind of it's kind of like watching a train wreck in slow motion, right?
I think they did a really good job of portraying what it would have been like too for the average person, because the average person doesn't know this epic battle's going on and that Thanos is snapping and that half people are dead, where he just turns around and she's gone.
Right.
And there's people like that, like maybe you were at work and your wife was at home and you come home and she's gone. Like nobody knows what happened to everybody because everybody's just gone.
Right. Right. Although, did he really completely unaware of what was going on?
I'm not saying he was unaware.
I said
I'm saying they did a good job of portraying what it would have been like for the average person.
Okay.
Who didn't know what was happening.
Right. I mean, talk about totally maddening too. I mean, you turn around, your daughter's gone. Hey, you turn back around, your wife, your son's gone. You know something. I mean, you're familiar with this universal scale of destruction that's, out there in the universe. Man, and even as a hardened, former assassin like Hawkeye, you just got to go crazy, man. Yeah. Something that you're totally incapable of protecting your family from came and took them from you.
Yeah.
Just the feeling of helplessness is really conveyed in that scene.
Right. So that is actually that was a great opening, I thought.
Oh, yeah.
And it was very emotional opening, and it did what I felt like it needed to do.
It sets the tone for the movie, and it sets the stakes. It shows how high the stakes are. I mean, that's everything, I mean, to me, I know you guys do the same thing, wife, kids, family. That's everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And just to lose that off the bat, just, okay, here we go. We're at rock bottom.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here?
So from there we go to space.
Space with the opening where Tony is leaving his message for Pepper. And at this point, we have to assume that the end credit scene with Captain Marvel showing up has already happened. And she's like, I'm here. Nick called me. What do you need me to do? And I'm guessing they're saying something along the lines of, well, go find Tony.
Right.
See what happened on that end.
Right.
And that leads us into where we start with Tony.
Right. So there with the opening of that, I liked how there's a little bit of bonding between Tony and Nebula.
Yes. A little bit of levity there with the paper football. Yeah, I thought that was awesome.
That's what they started right out with, the humor. That's what I was talking about. They had the right amount and they carried it out through the whole movie. I really liked how they did that.
Yeah.
Because it's a tightrope walk, right? I mean, it's literally there's such a delicate balance between having emotional weight and having stakes, but also remembering that this is a movie.
Otherwise, you're just too pretentious. It's too drama oriented.
That's why where DC, in my opinion, keeps shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
They're trying to be so dark and so meta and next level, and they're trying to be so up their own ass with these societal, socio-political messages, and it's like, okay, calm down. Like, I'm here to see Batman and Superman duke it out. I'm not here to get my latest serving of social justice, Jesus.
Yeah. Okay, so then we see Captain Marvel appear in front of Tony.
Yes.
And it seems like he's just waiting to waste away.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly, at the time I thought, oh, how convenient, Captain Marvel just shows up. But then, going back to the end credits scene from Captain Marvel,
yes,
it's like she must have gotten in contact with the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently Rocket's got some sort of GPS on his spaceship, so he's gonna know where he's gonna know where it is. So it's just like, hey, can you go out and get it for us?
Yeah. And it was in line with what literally everybody knew what was going to happen. I mean, that he was going to be rescued, and it was probably going to be Captain Marvel.
Right.
She was really the only one who could have.
Right.
I was thinking either Captain Marvel or Rocket, because Rocket does have the navigation skills. He has the technological capacity to get another ship up and going. He has the homing beacon on his ship. I knew it had to be one of those two. Because...
just for expedience, I was figuring it was going to be her.
Yeah.
Rather than he's going to be handcuffed on Earth, trying to make technology that's more advanced.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it just there would have been that time lapse. I knew they had to get going quick.
Unless he was using Stark tech, but Stark was out in space.
They got going really quick into the movie, which is good. I mean, even though there were the slow parts, but I mean, they really got into like Tony is stuck in the ship, and all that was just like you knew that was happening from the trailer, and it was just resolved quickly and it got right into the movie.
So how about that post space recovery Tony?
Oh,
where he looks like he's like
emaciated,
PTSD. Yeah. I mean,
I like that. I mean, I like the fact that he was almost like because if you think about it in terms of story, he never had the reconciliation with Captain America after Civil War. You know,
right?
Because remember in Infinity War, like, oh, we don't really talk, and that was really his time to be like. After they had split up,
where were you?
Battle, yeah, that was so he was right. I don't mean his position was right because I don't agree with him, but he was right to be mad,
right?
And after everything he'd gone through, and he thought that the battle was split, and so I liked it.
Right.
I felt it was on point.
They took their time with it too. They didn't just force that reconciliation between them like, oh, we're back. Now we have to join forces. And he's like, no, fuck it. We lost. We're done. And there's that time lapse period that comes after that where it takes time for them to rebuild that or just let things mull over and pass and for the tension and the anger to die.
It's a lot like the Civil War scene where they're arguing before they split.
Right.
It's in the same type of area. The same
dynamic.
Yes, exactly. And I liked how they mirrored that.
Yeah, because those people still don't like each other.
And it brought you back, at least for people like me who recognize that, like, it brought me right back to that spot, which is a good on their part as filmmakers. It's easier to remember something that happened in the past when they're showing it to you in the same way. And it's like you're back. You're like, oh, we are again back at Civil War with these two guys arguing about this.
Like Civil War is a foreshadowing of these.
Yeah, well, it was. Yeah, and even the line where Tony said we're in the end game now, or that's the end game. I mean,
Well, they've been foreshadowing the events.
But
of this
I mean,
movie
by the way they had that scene, it was a good callback as far as like
because
tied it together well.
There's no new ingredients. The emotional turmoil between those two, especially, is still the same, and nothing's happened to reconcile that. Something's even gone in there as a deeper wedge to separate them even more.
Right. Especially when Tony's talking about like wanting that safety net. See, we would have this safety net over the world. This wouldn't have happened, and which obviously it still would have. But
definitely, definitely.
Well, a suit of armor over the world is not going to prevent the snap.
No, that's what I was saying. It was not.
One thing I did not like, talking about the next part of the movie. Okay, so Tony and Nebula come back. They're re-greeted. They have the argument with Cap in the war room there, in the break room, the briefing room, whatever you want to call it. And then we kind of pan over to Scott Lang's van 5 years later in storage, and a rat walks across it and touches it lightly with his tail and spits him out. Come on.
Initially, when I saw that,
I was so mad.
But you know what? There's a lot of moments like that throughout all of the MCU.
But that is a particularly egregious use of Ex Machina rat tail to reactivate.
When I first saw it, I was
that's all it took. It took one button press.
This is stupid. I was like, this is stupid when I first saw it. But then when I later thought about it, like after I'd seen the movie, each little part when they're going to the character, I kind of think of it as like a microcosm of that character. And that would have fit perfectly in an Ant-Man movie. Because it's just a different feel.
I agree with that.
So I actually kind of liked that they did that.
Yeah. I guess. Stuff like that drives me nuts. A leaf blew into the window and landed and then caught fire and then blew back out of the fire and caught the whole house on fire. It's like, okay, the flap of a butterfly wing in Africa causes a tornado in Minnesota. Whatever the fuck, man. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of little happenstance. Everything happened for a reason. Helen Keller bullshit.
The movie cheats in a lot of ways, and that is definitely one of them.
Yeah. But the alternative is a 4-hour movie where they show Ant-Man climbing his way out or figuring out how to get out of the quantum realm by himself.
Right.
Yeah. Or they could have had just like some random, but either way, it's like you're either going to have Scott Lang figuring out himself or you're going to have some random person playing with the buttons, right?
Yeah.
Which they could have easily just done that.
Yeah.
So I was just like, you know what? In the overall scope of the movie, it was a small point and they just had to get it done. So they were like, okay, we're going to make this funny and more in touch with like an Ant-Man style movie where it's like
Right.
more humorous. That's what I liked about it.
Yeah.
They just got it done. It
Yeah,
was
I
dumb.
guess.
My initial reaction was, that's stupid.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't really matter, I guess. Like you said, it had to happen one way or another. Some MacGuffin, his kid was going to come and play around with this stuff, or it was going to be the rat
buying
tail.
something from a storage auction. Oh, look at this, Dad. That's cool. They could have done that. They could have done anything.
I think I would have appreciated more seeing like his daughter come and be searching through her dad's effects and then being like, oh, what's this? Last date, so and so, last what? Huh? And then kind of figuring it out.
I would agree with that. That would be good.
But I get the part too that wouldn't have been as the emotional content when Scott comes to the door and his daughter answers to is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And if they would have revealed that initially,
they had to show the world a little bit what had happened since then, and they had to use a character to do it. So I think they were kind of just throwing it all together. Yeah. And like, okay, we're gonna show Scott comes back. Scott's gonna see the world. Scott's gonna see the wall, the missing. Scott's gonna come back with his daughter. It was like they were like, well, we need to show some of this part. Let's have it all just be one thing. And
he had been precluded from those events, so he had no frame of reference, just like we did.
So he was us, basically. He was the audience at large, like coming upon it. So
us getting his view to those same circumstances. I agree.
And I thought the reunion with the daughter was really good.
I did too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so going from there, then actually we've actually skipped ahead. We forgot to mention about the whole the 5-minute fight scene. Remember the 5-minute kill theory?
We did jump ahead to the killing Thanos.
Right. So let's go back to that. Okay. So
we'll revisit.
Yeah. So there's a plan for them all to get together. Once they detect that Thanos has used the stones again, so they know what planet he's on, and they go out to kill him.
Yeah, and there was even some humor in that too. Who's been to space before? Stuff like that.
Right.
Just don't throw up my ship. There was some funny stuff too.
Yeah.
When they go there, and then they kind of go there and they make this plan, and as you're watching it as an audience, you're like,
I like how Hulkbuster comes right up through the floor.
Yeah.
and grabs onto him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just like how they're like, okay, and you're watching this thinking like, okay, this is going to be a really good epic battle.
No.
And it was fulfilling though. It was satisfying.
Right.
I like it too because there's the no BS. All the like there's a channel called How It Should Have Ended on YouTube, and they're a great channel. If you guys get the chance, check them out.
I like them.
Super hilarious little short animated skits. But all the channels like that, they were kind of like, why didn't they just sling ring off Thanos' arm? Why didn't they just send Ant-Man up into his butt? Why didn't they, all the things that they said. I mean, that was basically a 5-minute kill theory, like you said. Okay, here, boom, Hulkbuster grabs his arm, boom, Tony grabs the other side of his body, Thor comes up, Stormbreaker chops off the arm. Okay, he's separated. Now, they chop off the head rolls over. I mean, it was
good,
powerful stuff. But yeah, it kind of gave that fan service, like, yeah, we could have done this, but you know what, Thanos mentally was one step ahead. The stones are gone. He's destroyed them, right? And it was kind of it addressed those little kind of not plot holes, but yeah, how come they didn't do that? How come they didn't do this? And you can go into those infinite reality. Yeah, and then they did it. And then they did those easy, quote unquote, easy fixes.
Right.
But I thought it was,
and they did really good job of setting it up. This is going to be a little bit off topic, not really, but they set the story up. They set it up good as far as the fight, because they get the fight, they get him trapped, they get the arm cut. They're all sitting there, and they're like, "No, you didn't destroy the stones. You must have hid them somewhere." And then Nebula's like, my father's, a lot of things. She's not a liar, but he's not a liar. And it really ties back to the part where he's talking to Gamora and he's torturing Nebula. And emotionally, it takes you back to that point. Right. And you're so focused on that, like, okay, maybe he did destroy the stones. And then they kill him. Yeah. So it has that perfect shock value because you're thinking of something else. And Thor's just like, but I went for the head this time. Right. That's what I was supposed to do,
And and you're kind of feeling the shock. I'm sure that Thor is feeling at that moment.
Way more so than if they would have just done that battle and then he just cut his head off.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I like too. He was about to, kind of reprise those emotions for Nebula that she had for him, like that longing for affection. He was kind of like, oh, maybe I was too harsh on you, daughter. Oh, my head's on the ground now.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool too, seeing her. She was finally getting that little bit of validation, like, oh, daddy issues on Front Street. Now your dad's head's on the ground. Yeah. Single tear rolls down your cheek. Let's move on.
Yeah.
That was powerful for me. That was pretty like, oh shit, this movie means business. That's like in calling back to Infinity War. First scene right off the bat. Okay, you got, Thor's whole ship destroyed right after he overcame everything with Ragnarok. Hulk and Thanos duke it out. Thanos knocks the dog piss out of Hulk. You know, it's kind of one of those things like, oh shit, this movie means business. We're like 10 minutes, 20 minutes into these movies, and they're showing us all this fan service. They're showing us these big action scenes, these big, I mean, defining moments for the movie. That's really, you know, you're thinking, holy fuck, where do they go from here? We're already at like the pinnacle of my heart's boom, 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 boom in my chest. Like, where are we going to go from here? And, you know, it continued to rise.
Right. So we go from that point to then it jumps five years later. Then we already talked about the whole Ant-Man stuff.
And it goes into like, and when Ant-Man comes out, talking about, oh, he's thrown out as like, oh, this might sound crazy, but time travel, you know, I was
it's like 5 hours.
I was gone for 5 hours, and it was 5 years here, and it's like, so there's this time travel thing, and then and it kind of goes into where like it's going to be about convincing Tony, right? And we know, obviously, because we're watching this movie, that Tony is going to be convinced.
Right.
I thought they did a good job of the way they emotionally walked it through. No, I can't do that. I've got too much to lose. They did a good job of showing what he had and that he wasn't interested. And then they did a good job of showing when he's reflecting on it himself, then seeing Peter Parker and then thinking like, no, I don't have everything.
Right.
You know, I did lose some things.
Right. And that he's not going to be completely selfish.
Exactly. And that it's going to, he's kind of, you kind of like, well, I could just not help you guys and I could be happy because I have what I have. But he's not really, because it's always going to be in the back of his head.
Right.
What could he have done?
Right.
And that's really what a hero is. You know, it's like putting it out there for other people, you know?
Right.
I mean,
yeah, exactly. Leading by example.
Yeah.
You know, he's thinking, okay, what kind of legacy do I leave behind for my daughter?
Exactly.
If I do quit here, is this the kind of...
he had the opportunity to act. And so he was mulling it over. You know, do I act or do I not act? He could have not acted and, you know, gone on and lived his life. I mean, you know, seeing the movie, we already know what ultimately happens. He ultimately sacrifices himself.
Yeah.
And so, but that wouldn't have happened if he had chosen inaction.
No, exactly. And it wouldn't have done anything, you know, not that it's the most important thing ever, but legacy is something too. You know, you got to think you know, there's kind of a theme underlying a lot of these Avengers movies that it's not just the actions of somebody, but it's what's the Batman quote from it's not who I am that defines me, it's my actions that define me, or you know, something along those lines. Like the sentiment of who I am, my legacy as
it's
a
what
hero
I do.
Is I did put everything on the line. I put my, you know, my relationship, my availability to be there and be physically alive with my wife and with my daughter aside for doing what's morally just and trying to vindicate, you know, all these things and trying to avenge all these people, you know, in the basis of the movies. This is the big avenging moment. Who are we avenging? Well, initially nobody, because nobody's dead yet.
I do have a slight bone to pick, knowing that Tony eventually ends up sacrificing himself, and now his daughter is growing up without a father. And granted, I'm sure she has a surrogate father and Happy, but
she has a very strong mother.
As a father myself, I gotta say, Disney, stop killing off all the dads. Come on, let's. It's okay to have dads.
Single
mom
culture.
We
Disney does that in every movie,
right?
Every princess movie.
That's why I'm calling it out right now. Stop killing off the dads. Okay, the dads can be good people too. You know, we can help raise our children with the mothers who are also amazing. Yeah. So we don't always need to kill off the dads. Granted, okay, maybe in this particular instance, you know, Tony ultimately needed to die because of the whole arc of his story and character.
Tony's dad dies, Baron Zemo's dad dies, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver's dad dies. I know everybody's dad dies.
I know.
Bruce Banner's dad dies.
Death comes for all of us ultimately and eventually. But I mean, come on, like
Spider-Man's dad dies.
He got like 4 years or so with his daughter. You know, he could have got more. He could have raised her more. I think that would have been better. You know, did Captain America end up having any children? You know, going through his little alternate timeline lifestyle or whatever.
He refused to expound on that.
We don't even know.
Yeah.
Maybe he decided not to have any children at all, and again, him not being a dad at all. But I feel as dad, like, you know, Disney, stop it. Let's have some good dad storylines, please. That. Okay, rant aside.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but how would you have changed it to where he didn't die?
No,
Because-
he had to die.
No, but I just mean they fulfilled the story good. They took the selfish, arrogant guy, who I really didn't like the way his attitude was for a lot of the Marvel series. I liked him as a character, but I really didn't like, they turned him into the type of person that I would like and admire.
Right.
And then they kill him. He turns into the sacrifice.
Bring him back.
So it's a really strong, powerful moment.
Yeah.
Which is what
that? It's that hero's journey kind of
Yeah.
thing, right? Except at the end, he's turns in and it kind of collides with the Christ narrative. He sacrifices himself, but in sacrificing himself, there's a resurrection of the ideal of him.
Mhm.
Thanos said in the Infinity War, "Oh, I hope they remember you." Cap, in the first Avengers movie, said, "You're not the kind of guy that would lay down on the wire and let your buddy crawl over you to get to safety." Oh no, I just cut the wire. There's some foreshadowing there that he was going to become this more morally sound and rounded character than he is now.
Right.
And he did get a lot of the reconciliation. He got to talk it out with his dad.
Yeah.
Oh,
Get his dad to hug and all that stuff, that he didn't get to do.
Realize that parents aren't perfect and there's no perfect way to go through it. And
Exactly.
didn't realize that until he had the perspective of having his own child.
Yeah.
His dad's just a dude trying to make it work,
And I like the fact that it ended the way, we're jumping way ahead, but it ended the way the first Iron Man ended. Where he's at the press conference. He's
I am Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
Yeah.
That's how it ended.
Exactly.
Right? So
a lot of things were brought full circle.
So we're into the convincing Tony part. Are we going to go on to the plan where because obviously he figures out the time travel.
Well,
Do you want to go into that?
So
let's talk a little bit about Hulk or Bruce, trying to
Hulk, Smart Hulk,
trying to
to
basically,
do it. I really like that humor where
that was
he's
a
like,
fun scene.
where he was just like, oh yeah, and he just like after, kind of do the shrug like, yeah, maybe it'll work, But he's like, oh yeah, 100% working.
Right.
He seemed like one of the most well-adjusted of anybody. I'm excited to see that character, even though his arm's kind of fried now from his use of the Infinity Gauntlet. I'm excited to see him in the next couple movies.
Yeah.
Well, he should heal.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, he should heal.
Yeah.
He has that ability.
Right.
Yeah, is the Hulk, but his persona, he embraced it. He seemed like one of the most unaffected from the snap. He's kind of posing with the kids. Now, say green. He had these taglines, already. It happens to him all the time. He's approached. People love him.
Yeah.
I think it's a really fun use of that character. I'm excited to see.
Yeah, there was a lot of humor in that scene too with the Ant-Man.
Right.
But I'm Ant-Man.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, go take a picture. He's like, no. Like, oh, like, we don't
You're gonna hurt
yeah.
his feelings.
Yeah. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo really got a shine in this movie. I think he was one of the stronger characters in the movie as far as getting to espouse a little bit of his personality and the personality of the Hulk and him combined. You know what I mean? The confidence of the Hulk mixed with the intellect and the cunning of Banner. But it was funny, that scene where he's shooting Ant-Man back in time within his own body. It's like, I don't know if old me peed in the suit or if baby me peed in the suit or if it was just me. I'm not sure. That was a hilarious scene.
That was really good.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. They had just the right amount of humor. The entire movie kind of help you along a little bit.
Right.
So
walking that razor's
How about
edge.
the scene with Ant-Man sitting out in front of the building with his tacos?
Yeah, I like that too.
And then what is it? The spaceship comes down and blows
Nebula and Rocket come out and
Right.
blows his taco filling out. And then Big Hulk comes and gives him a fresh taco. Everything's going to be okay,
What did
little buddy.
Nebula say? She said something that was pretty funny. Now I can't remember.
Oh, she told James Rhodes. She said,
Oh.
and that was a fun callback too. She told James Rhodes, she said, Rhodey, upon re-entry, watch out in the landing zone. There's an idiot here. And then he lands. He's like, "What's up, regular sized man?" Because in the battle at the airport in Germany, they had that kind of little bit of a tiff between those two.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of a cool little jab at him, a
Right.
little pun there. That was hilarious. But once they get it and Tony's proposed that idea, I think it's kind of. I know, God, it's a 3-hour movie, so what more could I really ask of this movie than what it did? But hey, Friday, let's run that simulation 5 or 6 times over the course of one day and immediately figure out time travel without trying that.
Oh yeah, how convenient.
Oh yeah. So 5 years, I've never even looked into this. Time travel's impossible. Well, except for all that stuff with Doctor Strange and his time stone that I directly witnessed. It's like, okay, where's our suspension of disbelief? How big is the suspension of disbelief supposed to be here?
Right. The story demanded it.
It did. No, and there's, we have to have a plot.
Yeah.
So I can't really argue with that.
In fairness to them, they don't really go into how long he was actually thinking about it. I mean, it just cuts to like he's been thinking about it, and you start running models, but maybe he'd been running models for a week. I mean,
That's true.
that's kind of the way I figured. I kind of figured like he'd been mulling it over for a little while, long enough for them to go back and like they were at the Avengers compound working on it, setting that thing up. Maybe it was a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They didn't really jump into it. I felt it wasn't too forced because I felt like it was an eventuality that he was going to figure it out. And that's kind of what he does. He kind of stumbles upon it. That's kind of how he did the arc reactor. It's kind of how he did everything when he's in his little thing and he's just sort of like, let's try this out. Oh, that worked. Let's, that's kind of how, like, that's just sort of like, that's how Tony's genius works.
Yeah.
He just sort of stumbles upon it.
Yeah.
Well, let's move this thing down here that doesn't make any sense, scientifically or anything. That's
Try
just
it one more time.
Right. So, moving on to the plan.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm with Kellen on this. What he talked about earlier
and what's that?
about how it's time travel. There is zero rush.
Right.
Let's get a really good plan.
We have to do it now, today. It's like, come on, guys, let's go get like 1 million pin particles and take our time on this.
Future or the past is getting away from us.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
only have this many Pym particles.
Yeah. Well, you got to put some limitation on it. Or I mean, obviously, yeah, you could.
Well, there has to be
out-
some tension.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
If there's no limitation, it's like playing a video game on God mode.
Right.
It's just boring. You gotta have like, some resource that you have to manage or something that's like
Unforeseen circumstances and struggles.
Yeah.
And,
Okay, so they make the realization of where all the stones are.
Yep.
And at one point in time, there's 3 stones on Earth, right in New York.
So they're like, we're going here.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that bit first.
Okay.
Okay, so they go back right to that moment of the Avengers have Loki down inside Avengers Tower.
Yep.
And I thought it was interesting about like, okay, let's take a break. We kicked the bad guy's butt. Let's take a break. Let's get a drink.
Yeah.
Everybody come in and clean up.
Yeah.
Hydra coming in as Shield.
Right.
Who are these guys? They're Hydra. What? Well, we didn't know that then. They're Shield. It's
Yeah.
like, oh man.
Yeah, they did a lot of good. Like, I don't know if it was good or not, but I mean, they called back to like the elevator scene, and there's a lot of good stuff that I liked.
Oh, right. So you're seeing Cap enter the elevator with
the tough guys.
The Hydra agents, right?
But Cap's developed too. That shows kind of his development of
Right.
intellect. Instead of
it's
fighting all those guys,
Which he could have.
could have and fucked them all up easily because we've seen him do it before. Same exact group of dudes.
Exactly. That's definitely a callback to the Winter Soldier.
It's a callback to the, but I don't mean to call back, but I mean I think what Kellen's saying is too. It's showing his development as a character where he's realizing it's not always about the fight.
Right.
Sometimes it's about the long game or
Right.
the end game, right?
Yeah.
So he did whisper, "Hell, Hydra." It did kill me a little bit to hear him say that. It's kind of like that big that comic arc they had,
Which was a
recently.
direct nod to that.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely was,
without a doubt.
But it was also, hey, I got this. Here we go.
Mhm.
Until he runs into himself.
Right.
That,
And
was,
then
a
they
good,
had
that was
that-
a good callback to Thor: The Dark World.
That was
I've got eyes on Loki. You remember when? Yeah, whatever. I mean,
Right.
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
When
yeah.
Loki turns into Cap.
When Loki turns into
Yeah.
Cap. But it was also a callback. I leaned over to my wife when we were watching the movie, and his compass with Peggy Carter's picture in the cap of the compass.
Yeah.
It falls out onto the stairs when he's fighting. Cap's fighting past Cap, and he goes, "Where'd you get that?" And I leaned over to my wife and I go, "Who's Martha? Why did you say that name?" It was like, it's kind of like that self-realization moment. It's like, come on, guys, like this is really, we're gonna do this again. We just had this.
Yeah,
This
right.
is, who's Peggy? Why do you have that? Where'd you get that? This is enough to distract me.
Right.
So I don't know. It was a good scene though. I mean, it's
I
cool
like
watching
the
Cap fight
fight. I like
Cap.
the fight. Yeah.
That was great.
Mhm.
I really enjoyed it. Used the staff, paralyzed Cap. Where's Loki? Loki took the Tesseract. They missed the Tesseract. Loki took it and disappeared.
Right.
But it ultimately didn't matter because then they just went back and got it. So
Well, yeah, but then where's that
That's a different
divergent
time.
timeline Loki?
that's a different timeline.
So
Maybe it'll be a different
supposedly
movie, yeah.
they've announced that there's going to be a Loki show on the Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Oh
streaming
God, no,
service.
there's not.
There is. Yeah.
Where'd Loki go? He disappeared into an alternate
He-
dimension where he has his own TV show.
Exactly.
Terrific.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of Loki coming back.
I really like that one meme where they're like, Marvel Universe is like Loki's dead, producers are Loki's dead, writers are Loki's dead, and then there's that Thor's like, is he really though?
Right.
But is he though? Yeah. God, he just. I mean, but he is. I mean, Tom Hiddleston is a great actor.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he portrays that character so well. I'm kind of bummed that we didn't get to see.
I'm bummed
a
about
little bit more of him.
I'm bummed that we didn't get to see Loki in this fight, and I'm also bummed about Black Widow not being in the infight. I mean,
Right.
It just that part kind of sucked. Cause like,
Yeah.
I'm bummed that we didn't get to see. Speaking of when who we didn't get to see in the infight, Korg, man. I
yeah.
want to see that rock monster out there with some quippy dialogue. Hey,
we didn't even go
you're
in.
a real dick. You know that?
We didn't even
You know
go
what?
into the whole
we
Big
skipped-
Lebowski Thor.
Right. We
Yeah.
skipped
right
the whole.
past that.
Yeah, we skipped the whole Thor part, which I want to go back to. So
Yes.
Asgard, new Asgard.
New Asgard.
Before
I
they
love
started
that scene,
right.
when they first show up, because it's just so like sitting around drinking, playing Fortnite,
Right.
Yeah.
and
Korg hands the headset off to him.
yeah, like this guy keeps whatever he was doing. This
I gotta
guy
say,
keeps killing me.
Fat Thor is the best Thor.
I don't know about the best Thor, but
Is
he's
the best
definitely
Thor.
humorous.
I don't know. It kind of bugged me how much of a bitch he was. Especially when they get to Asgard, they're
that's what made
executing
it
the
funny.
plan. It was funny, but it was like, I can't do this. It's like, really, dude? The whole fate of the universe, and this is like you're cracking under. You've been alive for
Yeah.
thousands of years and fighting all these battles, and you're so emotionally turmoiled that I mean, my suspension of disbelief was stretched very thin in that moment.
Yeah.
And it did lead to that fun scene with his mom, where it's that's where I got choked up during the movie. That was my only choke point. But it was. Man, it's like he's such a bitch, man. God, it's just terrible,
Yeah.
But Rocket got it done. Luckily, Rocket was there to carry Thor.
Right. But which I mean, okay, so there's a lot of jumping around with Thor. But so what I thought was really funny was the whole interaction between him and Korg, right?
Yeah.
With okay, so Korg is playing Fortnite.
Mm-hmm.
He's having some trouble with one kid online, and so
kill
Thor,
him or
right?
camping him
Thor
or
hops
something.
on there and tells
this
him
is
off.
Thor, the god of thunder.
We'll come to your house and rain lightning down upon it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Go cry to your daddy.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. If we're addressing characters by character, we kind of talked about how Cap got his stone. We kind of went over how Thor got the ether
Right.
from Asgard.
And Mjolnir.
And Mjolnir, yeah. And it
Which
kinda gave him some self-confidence.
when he holds out his hand, and you're wondering like, is he really gonna call it? And then he does.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit.
What happened to the Thor in that timeline? Just has no hammer now?
He's like,
Well, Cap went and returned the hammer.
Oh, that's true
Yeah.
too. Yeah, he
Yeah.
did. He went and returned the hammer.
Luckily, he could lift it.
yes.
Yeah,
which is
luckily
another thing,
he's also worthy.
which was a good scene when it,
Right.
when it
Oh,
did
yeah.
happen. Just
In the
because
big battle?
and people who remember the part when they were all like joking, drinking, and trying to pick it up, like
Right, and
he's the
he
one-
he
he's the one who
dearly
budged
lifts it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did budget. So
Yeah.
okay, so we were
What are the other stones?
we were on the plan or were we on the execution? Yeah, we're talking about the execution.
Yeah, we're talking about the stone
Yeah,
acquisition.
yeah.
Right.
So Cap went and he got the. We saw what happened to the Tesseract initially. Loki absconded with it. The Mind Stone and the Scepter and Loki's Scepter was acquired by Cap. He successfully
Right.
got that. Thor and Rocket successfully got the Ether. Time Stone. Big green Hulk after that
Right.
big green shiny gem.
Right.
Tilda Swinton,
Yes.
the ancient one.
I
back
ain't
at it
asking.
again. Huh? Yeah. I ain't asking, lady.
Yeah.
And then just knocks his soul out of that body.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
that was a
like,
good
yeah,
scene.
go ahead and take me on.
Which is good. Which was also, I mean, we knew it was possible, but I mean, it was also a good callback to the beginning of Doctor Strange first meets her,
Right.
and she's does the exact same thing when he's like, "This is all nonsense," and then she just like pops him out like,
Chill.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
Well, it's kind of cool too to see where she was during the Battle
Mhm.
of New York.
like she was there protecting.
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
on the rooftop. She was knocking out Leviathans.
Mhm.
She was trying to do,
What she
some
could, yeah.
things. Yeah, it seems like she, as
It
the
seems-
Sorcerer Supreme, would be able to do more.
But her primary responsibility was to protect the Sanctum Sanctorum,
Yeah.
right? And the Time
And the
Stone.
Time Stone.
Yeah,
Right.
so, and she was doing that.
Yeah.
She was throwing out some spells, I guess, or some conjurings into
whatever
the
she was
air.
doing. Yeah.
Electric Light Orchestra.
Yeah,
right.
So that was cool, and her dialogue was good too, because when Bruce Banner, rather, the Hulk told her, well, then why would Doctor Strange just give it up to save Tony? And she goes, oh, well, he must have known better.
Must have seen something.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the best among us, or,
Right. I like that was the turning point for her when he brings
what
that
I also
up.
like about it is it kind of like turns the story a little bit, because it changes the aspect of like her first meeting with him. Like, she already knew who he was and what he would become, right?
Yeah.
Because she could see the future,
right?
Apparently, so the whole like making him wait on the porch and all that stuff, everything that was happening in the movie, like she knew that it was like building that he needed, and then it makes more sense that she would just leave him on Mount Everest to die, because she knew he wasn't going to die.
Right.
She knew he was going to figure it out.
Right.
So that's what I liked about it when I saw it. I was like, kind of brought back aspects of that movie to me.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of...
It added depth.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot in these going back moments that brings other movies to mind.
Yes. That's what I mean. They did a great job of calling back.
Right.
And answer some of the questions that we had about other movies. They
Yeah.
do a great job in this series, in all these Avengers series movies, all these Marvel series movies that tie together, of using later movies to address things they might have missed or mishandled in the first movies.
Retcon it, basically, but without it feeling bad.
Without it feeling shoehorned or gimmicky or terrible.
Yep.
They really handle a lot of it pretty subtly, and that's hard for a big studio to do. I mean, Disney's obviously the greatest, most powerful studio to ever exist. Our Disney overlords, we thank you.
The greatest studio there ever was or will be.
Yeah, exactly. Because we know you guys are listening. But I mean, man, they really have outdone themselves with handling these minute things that wouldn't really matter to anybody that hasn't been invested over the last 10 years, but there's so many of us that have given them, our hard-earned $8.50 at a time.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's, before we go on to the next stone, so we've got Time Stone so far. What have we gone over? Time Stone.
Okay.
Time Stone. We've gone over the Mind Stone, and the Scepter. The Tesseract was snatched up by Loki.
And then there's the Ether. Right. The Ether.
But we kind of skipped over the... Well, we did the Ether. We haven't got to the Nebula one.
The Tesseract was technically in two parts.
Yeah, the Power Stone is what I mean. We haven't got to the Power Stone yet.
Okay.
This is the initial acquisition.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go to the Power Stone then.
I liked the scene. I really liked how they jumped right back into it where Quill's got the Walkman going.
Oh yeah.
And so you feel like you're watching. No, I'm not even talking about the smack yet. I'm talking about.
Oh, and he's dancing.
You feel like you're watching Guardians of the Galaxy again.
Right.
And they do that pull out scene.
They show how stupid he looks.
Idiot dancing scene.
Yeah. Because you can't hear any of the music.
It's just awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. It was great.
And then they just knock him flat on his dick.
Right.
That's awesome.
I loved it.
What I didn't like about this scene was, out of all the super geniuses that they have between the Hulk, they have Tony there. They have other extremely intelligent individuals on this mission with them. Nobody predicted that. Why was Nebula's network in her mind interacting with the other network? That was kind of like that made me so darn mad.
She's got great signal for that Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Unlimited data.
Yeah,
right.
Interdimensional data.
That's like 40G.
Right. Yeah. So, and I don't know, that to me that was kind of.
So does that mean if she goes back in time at any point that she communicates with herself?
I think it means if she goes back in time to any point that she had the same network.
It's almost not like her memories are stored on some external network,
like
somewhere.
A cloud,
or
something.
Yeah, it's a nebula cloud.
It kind of felt like the Borg from Star Trek.
A little bit,
how like they have that hive lake.
It made enough. I didn't like it. I didn't like it, but it made enough sense that it fit with the story, because you obviously knew something had to happen, because the plan just can't. The plan just can't go off.
It's not just going to
work.
It
had to have a major hiccup,
right.
More than just like, oh crap, we didn't get that stone. We got to figure out how to get that stone again. It had to have another hiccup, another tension in the scene, and it really added a lot of tension, because there was no mistake about it. You knew that she was not the right Nebula.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
That is true too.
So, how about with her getting captured? Okay, and then we see, he starts to play back all of her memories. He sees what ultimately ends up happening. And then we have now the two nebulas basically facing off against each other.
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder what took, why that nebula was never able to like kind of see her own side. That is her. You know, why I wonder why she wasn't able to empathize with her own self.
I think she was still caught up
She
in that
hadn't
game.
she hadn't done that growing yet.
Yeah.
So in the terms of the story, that was like what 6-7 years ago
Probably
before the
about
story started.
probably about 9 years.
9
prior.
years. Okay,
Yeah.
so there was a lot of growing that she did as a character. Like there's a lot of things she'd see. You know, some things take time to wrap your head around.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
Well, yeah, she hadn't had the experiences on Ego with her sister.
With her sister,
She
exactly.
hadn't had
Which was only months apart, really. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 take place
but
months
she
apart.
didn't have that at the time. Is what
Right.
what he's trying to say.
Yeah, she hadn't had those experiences. Thanos hadn't pulled her apart and tortured her yet for
Mhm.
that extra information. She hadn't had those bonding experiences or
Mhm.
the experiences, you know, that we saw happen in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. None of that was present within her. And she was still wrapped up in all her daddy issues, trying to appease her father and win over the affection of him, as opposed to Gamora garnering it all. You know, she's bowing. when
Gamora didn't
Gamora's
even
not.
want it and gets it all.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
doesn't even want to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay, so let's talk about Vormir.
okay.
Oh God.
So I feel like it's like, come on, guys, you already played this card before. You know, we saw what happened here.
So anyone coming into the movie, I'm not trying to hijack what you're saying.
Yeah.
Anyone coming into the movie, as soon as they know those two are getting the Soul Stone, you already know that, like, well, this is going to be some stupid thing where one of them has to die.
Right.
And there was no like build up. The only people in the dark about it were the two characters.
Right.
So as an audience, I really didn't like it.
Yeah.
But that's why what you want is something to feel inevitable but surprise you. So as I got to that scene, the only surprise was who was going to win their little mini fight to see who was going to die.
Right. What if it was War Machine and Nebula were also in that same time? What if it was those two that had gone to Vormir? Then they'd just be like, "Oh, we're out of luck."
I don't like you. You don't like me. Like,
Right.
There's no. That's why even though like I can see what you guys are saying, but I really think it would have been funnier if Ronan or whatever he was called at that time, he's back to Hawkeye, I guess then.
Right.
Would have just grabbed the stone. Like I've lost everything that I truly care about.
Yeah, I think
right.
you have to lose it there.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, you have to toss it over the edge.
Because otherwise Scarlet Witch could have just shown up and gone, oh, you know, if she was alive and present during, oh, I lost my brother. It's like, yeah, but that was, you know, it has to be, I think, in that moment, you have to be willing to willingly sacrifice it.
I just feel like it has to be something that, I don't feel like there was I'm sure there is a connection between those two characters, but I don't feel there was enough connection to me as a viewer, not knowing the comics, not knowing anything else. It just felt like weird to me. I didn't like it.
Well, for that though too, like you were saying, like, you know, what does he say? He says you have to sacrifice either everything you love or what you love, whatever he said. But he said sacrifice too. Hawkeye didn't sacrifice his family; they were taken from him.
Right.
You know, it wasn't a willing sacrifice on his part.
Okay.
And I don't. The one thing that I think sucked about that scene too is I think, and I might be the only one thinking this because I know there's some ladies out there that love that character, Jeremy Renner's portrayal of Hawkeye and Clint Barton, but I was sitting there going, just let Hawkeye kill himself. Fuck his family. Come on, Scarlett Johansson. Like, let's get this going, you know? Come on. And it was pretty disappointing to have her die over him. I hear we are getting a Black Widow solo movie.
Yeah.
I heard that's been announced officially.
But
But it's going to probably be in the past.
Which is fine. I'm interested in that.
To jump into this and to play along with the stupid narrative that I don't like, the whole Soul Stone aspect, but what if they would have just been like, okay, it's me, and she jumps? Well, then, in my opinion, they don't get the Soul Stone.
Because she also doesn't sacrifice.
She didn't.
Right.
Or
he didn't.
she chose. Like, he had to sacrifice her.
Yeah.
Like, so she was hanging, and he had to let her go.
Right.
So he's actually sacrificing her. That's why I think it would have been funnier if they would have just, if they would have had a different character show up where they just basically, like, kill the Red Skeleton. Screw this guy.
Right.
Right. We're taking the stone.
Yeah.
No, the stone demands. Who cares what the stone demands?
Right.
Because the stone's coming.
Beat it out of you.
I don't think that's how that works, though.
I understand what you're saying, but they could have figured out some way to tweak it. I understand that they wanted her to die. I just felt like, dude, if she would have died in the end battle, it would have been way more impactful. Like,
yeah.
It just
agreed,
made me
100%.
mad
100%
when I watched it.
Right.
Yeah. But that's the thing, too, then, if that was an available option just to beat the stone out of the Red Skull, why wouldn't Thanos is powerful. If Hawkeye and Black Widow could
I'm
beat
not
the
even
fuck
saying.
out of the
I'm
Red
not saying
Skull,
it would have had to be those two.
but I'm just saying if that was an option, Thanos
Yeah.
could have definitely beat the fuck out of the Red Skull, and then he wouldn't have had to sacrifice Gamora. We wouldn't have had any of that tension on Titan. There wouldn't have been the Peter Quill punching Thanos in the face, ruining the plan.
You're right.
Right.
So it's hard to do MacGuffins like that. It's hard to try to retroactively ex machina a situation, but it definitely was frustrating because it seems like a lame scene. I'm with you. It seems like her sacrifice was like all for naught.
Mm-hmm.
Takes her out of the movie. It right before the pivotal big battle scene. That I want to see Scarlet Witch fucking some shit up, man. I remember watching her in Wakanda tossing that chick into the giant windmill.
I just
rototiller helicopter thing.
I didn't write the story, and I could just think of 100 things that I could do.
Yeah.
Like, what if they were to like, oh, we gotta sacrifice something, we'll be back, and then show back up with like the time stone or something stupid, and be like, oh well, we can't beat Thanos without this. We're all doomed. Oh, and then you get it. Then we'll just go back in time later and get this time stone again. You know, just anything stupid. I mean, I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how they could have done it better, but I just didn't like it.
I wasn't a fan either, but it's easy to Monday morning quarterback too. You know, I'm sure a lot of thought went into this movie. 10 years in the making. It definitely wasn't the strongest scene in the movie.
And I wonder. So she isn't the only life now that's claimed by the Soul Stone. So
in that timeline, she is.
Yeah. Right.
Thus far.
Right. But I wonder if there's some sort of like. I wonder if they're cheating a little bit. I wonder if they're, because you see at the end that Peter Quill is looking for Gamora. Now, is he looking for her in the fact that
another thing that we don't know? That
we don't know exactly.
Did Gamora get dusted?
Right.
By the snap.
They don't show that.
We were talking about that. Does the gauntlet go by what's in the person's heart or what their like actual affiliation?
Right.
Like,
and
she's part of Thanos' army. She's the daughter of Thanos, but.
And at this point, the Soul Stone no longer exists. So if the Soul Stone no longer exists, what happens to... I mean, we see in Infinity War, there's that Soul World, right? Mm-hmm. Where Gamora existed as a little child.
Yes.
Does that place no longer exist? Like, what happens to the people that were sucked up by the Soul Stone, supposedly?
I'm hoping... I've heard from different forums and stuff that we're looking at a Guardians of the Galaxy 3 that's been announced. That we're looking at a Zac Efron as Adam Warlock, which I'm completely open to, honestly. I think it could be hilarious depending on if it's handled like the other Guardians of the Galaxy movies, but I think Soul World's going to be fleshed out. I think Guardians of the Galaxy 3 would be foolish not to flesh it out. Yeah, because I think it's interesting.
But how are they going to do that without the Soul Stone? Because the Soul Stone is destroyed in their timeline. All the stones are.
That's true, but that's
so what happens to Soul World?
Else makes their way to Nidavellir to acquire it. If Cap just put it back, right? That's what he did with it.
He put it back, but that doesn't affect
But he put it back
in
its own timeline.
Yeah, the way they're doing their time travel, it's a divergent path.
Right. So now the year for them is 2024. Okay, because initially it takes place in 2019. They jump forward 5 years, and we know that because they actually list dates for when they're going back in time. So 2012 for the Avengers fight in New York, and 2013 for Thor: The Dark World, and 2014 for Guardians of the Galaxy
2.
Right.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think that might be a good thing then. The time stones have just, in that timeline, had been snapped out of existence by Thanos, and they're no longer something that will be sought out or be available to anybody.
Yeah.
And that might be for the best moving forward. That doesn't mean that there's not necessarily a Soul World.
Maybe the Soul Stone just pulls you into the Soul World. It's not necessarily like part of the stone.
Yeah,
like it's just like the access up for it.
It's
the essence. It's the distillation of it.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't have to be completely in line with the comics. Where in the comics, the Soul World existed within the Soul Stone. It doesn't have to necessarily be that. They could just take that kind of vein of it. But that
maybe the Soul Stone grants access to Soul World.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines.
It could be a door to that room, not necessarily the only door, like Flock's saying. But also, too, if you think about it, the Scott Lang time traveled without the time zone, essentially.
Right.
So it's not a requisite. Yeah, so
more than one way to.
I think it's like like I said, it's like the distillation. It's the energy of it. Like you can like access that with whatever stone you have. Or whatever we're talking about. Like the essence of power is the Power Stone. It's not all power. When the Power Stone's gone, there's no more power.
Yeah, exactly.
So I say we move on. Now that we've got all the stones,
Yeah.
We've kind of gone over all the stones.
So
which one did we miss one?
The Space Stone, the Tesseract, going back in time to the 70s.
That's where we are. That's
Right.
our last one we need to go after.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, the little cameo from Stan Lee.
Yeah, it was great.
Unexpected, but welcome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And there was cheering in the theater for that.
Right.
R.I.P. Stan Lee.
Yeah. But interesting how there's it's Tony and Cap going back to the 70s, and we see like little nods for both of them. Cap sees that Peggy Carter's there working at the base.
Yep.
And then Tony has his meetup with his dad.
Yes.
Tony's dad was not very astute in that circumstance.
No.
Tony had just stolen
The Tesseract.
the Tesseract, had a suspicious briefcase, was in a clearance-only area, was acting super sketchy the whole time, gave him a weird name, paused on the last name. I mean,
Forgot the briefcase.
The briefcase. Yeah, Tony's dad was like super off his
Way
game
to
if
be
he's supposed to
lax in your security procedures.
There was plot demands that needed to be fulfilled.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, if you're down in some secret government installation, like, and you have this ultimate power, which is equivalent of like several nukes, like you usually just leave it somewhere. That's what I would do.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah. Man, that was a tough one. But Tony did get his little bit of daddy issues.
Yeah,
I
felt the point of that was to show how like Loki can betray them. Loki can have his own little timeline divergent for later. They can show some failure because you need like a try-fail cycle. And then the getting the stone was the eventuality that they knew was already going to happen, and they were just showing that to showcase a meetup with Tony and his father, and to showcase a little bit about Cap seeing that there might be a possibility with Peggy. So that was really the point of the scene. Like if you're looking at it scene by scene, so I was able to overlook like how they got the stone, how they got the Tesseract, which I thought was dumb, but.
Well, he also got more pin particles too.
And more pin particles, but the scope of the movie, like, that was kind of why they did it. I think that was sort of like, well, we got to get to this point too. So I liked it.
Yeah.
Right.
It kind of did some callbacks.
Yep.
To some other things, Tony and his dad's relationship, the relationship with Peggy and Steve, like you said. It was good. It served its purpose.
Definitely.
That scene served its purpose. As kind of hokey as some of it was, was still when you walked away and he gave his dad that hug. He's like,
"Yeah,
Jarvis, do you recognize that man?"
Oh, and yes, and that
then
it kind of gives you even more insight on Tony. How like Tony was just raised almost by this butler, this driver, the butler, the Jarvis, and then obviously then when he creates his AI, he names it Jarvis, right?
Yeah, and memorandum to that that father figure that he had.
Yes.
Which was nice, and like I said, his little bit of fleshing out with his relationship with his dad too. I think that's a good lesson for a lot of people, that your relationship with anyone, especially, I think we have this preconceived notion that parents are supposed to be perfect all the time. It's like, they're just humans trying to figure it out, man.
No, they're gonna make mistakes, and those mistakes that they make are gonna shape you.
Yeah, this is not Brady Bunch.
Yeah,
you have to learn from these mistakes and failures to grow, and one step leads to the next step, and everyone's ideally in a perfect world better than the last step. There's some regressions there, but like Tony had.
Yeah,
but
everyone is I like to look at it too when I'm like making a character for myself. Like everyone's the hero of their own story, right? So everyone's decisions that they make in regard to anyone else is always going to be based on somewhat like what they think is going to be the best plan from their point of view.
Yeah.
So Tony's kind of realizing that as he saw his dad. His dad is just fumbling through everything. And then he had just recently done that because he had a daughter. So he kind of knew, and he was like, it kind of helped him identify with some things that he might not have before.
He had some frame of reference.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to have that to realize that everyone's not Pa and Ma Beaver, or the Brady Bunch, or any of those, archetypal family. Everything doesn't get wrapped up at the end of every episode with a nice bow.
Yep.
There's some stuff that's hard to work with.
Okay, so
let's talk about the battle.
We got all the stones.
Right. Let's talk
about how the betrayal leads into the battle.
Right.
Okay.
So they all come back. That they have.
Well, first of all, let's talk about that gauntlet with the Hulk.
Well,
okay, so apparently now Stark Tech can can house Infinity Stones, even though before the gauntlet had to be made from like what was that planet, the Heart of a Dying Star or whatever.
I don't know what it was called. The
Right.
weird forge place, yeah.
So apparently Stark Tech is about that good.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the nanotech.
Maybe it was made with vibranium. We don't know what kind of building materials he was working with.
What's stronger than vibranium?
Whatever the fuck Thanos'
Thanos'
sword is made out of.
Right.
That chopped the fuck out of
Yeah, it
Steve
did.
Rogers' shield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it was made out of adamantium.
And is his armor made out of that? Is his armor made out of that too?
I don't know, buddy.
Because I mean,
I would assume so.
he was definitely powerful.
Right.
Thanos.
Well, I think too, we in the movies have that conception of, oh, this is the most powerful metal on Earth. It's like, okay, or is it Uru metal? Is that more powerful than vibranium? And it's kind of like what Rocket said to Tony. He goes, hey, easy, buddy. You're a genius on this planet.
Yeah.
You know, it's like your frame of reference is the Earth. Okay, well, there's an entire fucking galaxy out there.
Exactly.
Who's to say that Thanos scouring the galaxy for
definitely,
however long
definitely, yes.
a Titan lives
Mhm.
hasn't found something more powerful than vibranium,
Right.
which is just a happenstance de facto
But
strongest metal on Earth.
they did. We're jumping ahead, but they did a good job with that, like showing like then right in that first battle because he didn't have that weapon before when they were fighting him because he felt he didn't need it, and you can kind of see why by how powerful he is that he probably didn't need it. But when that first chop down into the shield, where it just chopped straight in, and everyone in the audience is like, okay,
Oh fuck!
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was a powerful scene, man. That really lets you know that Thanos dude ain't fucking around.
yeah.
Right.
Okay, so Stark Tech Gauntlet makes his
Okay,
own gauntlet.
so the Hulk is the one that's gonna do the
Yeah.
snap. Okay, so he puts on the glove, and then he goes to snap, and when he's putting on the glove, you see that it's messing him up.
just holding the power of the stones before
Right.
he does anything. Yes,
And we saw a bit of that effect when Thanos was doing that
Exactly.
in Infinity
Yep.
War. Every time he would apply a new stone, it was like painful.
Mhm.
But it seemed like he could hold it anyway. But Hulk putting them all on at once was definitely painful for him.
Yeah.
But he goes and does the snap. Okay, so we see Ant-Man go to the window. He's like, I think it worked. But then of course the betrayal with Nebula and Thanos' ship comes.
The ship comes and does the initial
initial barrage.
insane attack. That
Now at that
kill
moment you think that Ant-Man is dead.
Oh yeah, you think he almost surprised that nobody died, right?
Exactly. When I came out of the theater, I was like, how inept are you guys? I mean, you had the surprise attack. You couldn't kill at least one Avenger out of all that raining down on them.
Yep.
You didn't kill, like, not even Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Like, not even a guy that had no powers. Not even the raccoon. You can't kill anybody with that entire attack.
Yeah.
You just rained death on the entire Avengers compound, and you killed nobody.
Well, I understand why they Ant-Man didn't die because when the barrage started, he shrinks.
Right.
So that part made sense.
That does make sense.
But the rest of it, it was sort of like
Suspension of disbelief.
yeah,
again.
they needed the battle, they needed the thing, they wanted to.
They didn't even kill Rocket, dude. I mean, he's basically a cat,
Yeah.
and they couldn't even kill a cat in a big
He's
compound.
basically a raccoon, buddy. What do you mean he's basically a cat?
Well, he's about that size. Is what I'm
Rabbit.
saying. A rabbit.
I like this.
Yeah, it was good. He the thing I didn't like about it was, okay, how does he know what to do with the glove? How does Hulk know? Okay, he puts the gauntlet on. He has the Infinity Stones.
Well, they know that Thanos snapped.
Well, he know that he snapped, but he.
Well, you kind of have to focus it in your mind.
Yeah, it's.
And they were even saying that.
And
Like,
he-
they remember. Okay, they just remember. Think about it. We're bringing everybody back. Everybody back. that
Oh yeah, they were
snapped.
reiterating that to him.
Everybody
Yeah.
that was
Everybody
snapped.
back,
We're not
but-
bringing anybody else back. We're not trying. We're just. And he even said like when he did it, he was like, "I was trying, but
Bring
I was-"
Natasha back.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a birthday wish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Close your eyes and think really hard.
It's
Right.
you. No, there's no place like home.
Yeah. It's the yeah.
There's no place like home. There's no place like home.
So it's just one of those things where it's like you have to have something, and it's an easy way to initialize it and to visualize it.
Right.
Right. Where like if you want to think about it in like, does it have to be a gauntlet? Does it have to be a snap? Could it be an infinity belt with all the stones on it? And
Right.
then do you still snap your fingers? Do you tap the belt, or is it just all in your mind? Do you think it? You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where you can extrapolate for days.
Yeah.
On how it would work.
Yes, but it just needs to be easily digestible to the masses, which I think it is as a snap.
Yeah. Okay.
And it harkens back to the comics too. That was the defining action. It could have been a clap, or it could have been a
The clapper.
The clapper would have been good.
Yeah. Clap on, clap off. Yeah.
Okay.
All the lives in the universe.
Half of all life.
Yeah. Okay, so
the barrage happens. Hawkeye takes the glove. He does the initial
runaway.
The initial
The hot potato run.
The hot potato. Thor summons lightning to braid his beard.
Mhm.
That was pretty tight.
Oh, yeah.
Have to braid that beard up before the big fight.
Right.
With lightning. Tony's up there. Cap's up there. They're pseudo recovered. Thanos is just sitting there. They launch the attack. They get whooped.
Yes.
Oh,
They
yeah.
get their ass whooped by
They
Thanos with no
with
goddamn gauntlet.
with no stones. They can't
think of the arrogance too. That's what I liked about that scene. The arrogance of Thanos has access to this ship full of all of his army, all his minions, the flying spine things from
Right.
Avengers, everything.
And he's down there by
just down
himself.
there by himself. Like, let's go. I'm here to whoop some Avengers, and he does.
Yeah.
My big qualm with, or my big disagreement with that scene was they nerfed Stormbreaker so much. And Ron, you had talked earlier about, okay, maybe it's because Thor's fat, so he's not as powerful because he's out of shape. But that Stormbreaker was so powerful in the Battle of Wakanda.
You want to know my theory? My theory is that Stormbreaker wasn't nerfed, that Thanos was nerfed by the gauntlet, by the damage he had sustained. So even though he didn't have the power of the stones, the power to snap, he showed up full armor, full power, ready to go. Where he had that gauntlet on, and I think it was affecting him.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah, that makes sense.
not only was it affecting him, he was using it to battle instead of his own power, his own skills. Like, he'd be in the fight and he'd be like, okay, I'm using this stone to stop this, or I'm using this stone to stop that. And he wasn't really focused on martial battle and wasn't really ready for that axe coming down.
I liked how at the end of
theory.
I liked how at the end of the Infinity War, when he was in battle against multiple people, he's using like multiple stones at the same time, like using like a couple of different powers.
And what I'm saying is, like, when you fight, when you do anything, it's a skill you learn. You do it over time. Where he, at that point, the Thanos they're fighting in Endgame is not worrying about all these new skills. How do I use this stone? How do I use that stone? He's just like, I'm here to just whoop ass.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. He's not focusing on a form of combat that he's relatively unfamiliar with by using the stones. That's probably a fair point to make. I hadn't considered that point of view. That's
because he is projecting power at Stormbreaker in Infinity War when it's coming down at him, right? I mean, he's like fighting it back with something. Not using himself. He's not just like, reach up and grab it. And maybe he could have just dodged that if he would have thought about, like, oh man, if I could have just sidestepped and missed that axe altogether.
Right.
That's true too.
Yeah. He had enough time to shoot at it, but it wasn't enough. And it was breaking right through.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in the battle.
Okay.
Thanos.
Hawkeye has the gauntlet. Thanos is whooping ass.
Right.
We get to the point where
I like how Hawkeye he's getting chased by those things, and then like he starts to kill a few of them, and then he's like, like you're expecting more of them to come, and he killed them all already.
Yeah. So then we see the portals open up, though. Seems like all hope is lost. Seems like that's the end of it. You guys are fucking done.
Well,
all the forces.
I like how Thanos is battling them, and it's kind of getting to the point where, like, they're not going to kill me, but they're really getting annoying. So I'm just going to bring everybody else down, and the things start dropping from the sky, and it gets ready to go. And that's and then it starts, and then you kind of reminds you as an audience as you're watching it. You're like, man.
Now before all this happened,
they're barely staying alive fighting Thanos. And now his whole army is here too, and they're like sort of like shit.
But before all this happened, is this where we got to, Thanos is pinning Thor down with Stormbreaker, and then
where it's kind of like a rehash scene to where it's like he's about to get him, and then that's when Captain America gets the
which was a big cheering moment in our theater.
Definitely,
right.
That was awesome to see Cap pick up that hammer and throw it. I knew it.
I always knew you were worthy.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was definitely a fan service scene. That gave me a little chub.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
And right off the bat, like he knew how to wield it.
Oh yeah.
I think it's a will thing. Which
he was using the spinning, and then like he had this sweet little like it was like this lightning on the ground uppercut.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was whooping ass.
Right.
Then the portals open up.
Yeah.
We see the sling rings, or we see the big Doctor
Oh,
Strange
right.
portals open up. See Black Panther, Shuri, and who's the what's the other gal's name?
I can't remember her name. I want to call her Michonne.
Yeah.
Michonne.
Is it like a Okoye or something?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okoye,
something like
yeah.
Yeah.
And they stepped through and Bombay, and I was like, dang! I wasn't, I thought the Black Panther was good, but that really did make me like, oh damn, shit's about to get real.
Right.
And then here's
I
another
was happy
portal
to see
open.
all them. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, because you realize, Hulk did will everybody back. Everybody's back.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about it. I was so enthralled with the battle scene that
and I think
was
that's a good way. They did it good by doing that. Where every time you see somebody, you're like, oh yeah. Oh, and Scarlet Witch shows up. You're like, oh yeah, she's back.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like
right.
Scarlet Witch shows up. We see Doctor Strange as all his other sorcerers come through the portal.
Yeah.
The entire armies of Wakanda come through the portal. I mean, they brought back everybody.
Yeah.
And it was powerful, man.
And I will say, I am a fan of Scarlet Witch. I enjoy like the powers that she uses.
Her storyline.
Yeah.
And until she got hit and distracted, like she was ripping apart Thanos' armor.
Oh yeah.
And you could definitely tell he was like worried about it as
right.
it's happening. Like not just like
right. He needs
just
help.
Metal. Like he's like, this armor really helps me.
Well, he called down that like broken arrow call where he's like, just fire upon
everybody.
Sir, exactly. What about our troops? He's like, fuck it, dude. I'm about to die.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. He was definitely worried. The threat of her
and
power
then
level.
That brings us right into the part where like, okay, how he's raining fire on everybody. What do we have that takes out a ship like that? Captain Marvel.
Oh yeah,
so
of course.
She entered when she was supposed to. She did what she was supposed to do.
Right.
Something we'd already seen her do.
Right.
She's really good at flying through ships.
But then when we see her flying toward Thanos, I'm like, oh, here it goes. The one
I thought
win.
they did a great job.
But
about
which did not happen, and I was relieved. So it was her versus Thanos. Which I mean, okay, so Thanos is keeping the other three Avengers at bay. Like he's basically winning against Thor, Iron Man, and an overpowered Captain America.
With Mjolnir.
Right.
I liked all those scenes, and I really liked
he's facing off one-on-one with Captain Marvel, and he's got to pull a Power Stone in order to overtake her.
Well, she does have a small portion of the Tesseract powering her.
Yeah, exactly.
So okay, whatever. That just makes up for everything.
I really like though in the battle, like we were talking about, where it's Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America, where they're fighting, where it's really like, even though they don't go into the details of the plans of the battle, I really like the part where when Iron Man shows up and those like the flaps blast out behind him, and then they energy power him to shoot that power. I mean, I really just like it. It's like they really just see like how they really work in concert well together.
Well, it falls back to that original confrontation we saw between Thor and Iron Man over Loki,
where he's like almost out of power, and then
he blasts him with it, and he's like, power at 180%, and it's okay, here we go.
Yep.
So then Scott Lang goes over to his van, goes over the brown bomber, and he tries to get the time machine up and going again. Captain Marvel gets handed off the Infinity Gauntlet.
We see him as Giant Man for a little while.
For a moment, for a moment, break up
which was cool. He's smashing those big spine alien ships.
Yeah. He's bust up out of there. Doesn't do much. I think it would have been some help against Thanos. I don't know. Giant foot.
Oh yeah.
I saw him step on not Korgus Glaive, but
who did he step on?
He stepped on the big guy.
The big guy.
Yeah.
I forgot his name, but yeah, they squished him like an ant.
Squished him like an ant. And then they have the big nod to the Strong Independent Women's League.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that was a big eye roll moment for me. So like, you have this big battle that's going on, and now Spider-Man needs help. He's trying to cart off the Infinity Gauntlet.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, all of the women, not just some of the women, but all of the women that are, even related to the Avengers, they're all in that one spot, and they're like, "We got this, young man. Just stand aside. All of the women have this."
What do you mean? All the men were in the initial part. How come all the men can be together and all the women can't?
Yeah.
I get it. It was cool. And if I had a little girl or a daughter, I'd be stoked, and she'd probably be stoked, like, "Oh, Daddy, look, all the."
You know what?
heroes,
that moment would have felt cooler if it didn't feel so forced.
Yeah, if they made it more organic. Well, like we had talked about earlier in the Battle of Wakanda, in Infinity War, they happened to cross the battlefield together,
and that felt more
as
organic.
a matter of a necessity.
Right.
Yeah, you have Scarlet Witch right there. You
And
have Black Widow.
I didn't really have any problems with that scene. That scene seemed fine.
Yeah, with Okoye and all those. Yeah,
Right.
that was a badass scene because it was more organic.
What I liked more about that scene from Infinity War 2 was the fact that it was more realistic in the fight, as far as sometimes that's how things happens. Like they won because they were tenacious and because they didn't give up, but they didn't win because of their skill. They won because they blasted her up at the right time and she got ran over by one of her own little spinning things. You remember?
Right.
So it just felt more real.
And you know what? To be fair, it would have been just as eye rolling if like one of the women or whatever was in danger, and then all of the men Avengers just suddenly showed up. Like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what side you're doing. Like it's
baby.
obvious that you're making. Yeah, it's like obvious that you're making a statement. Stop it.
Yeah.
Like stop it. It's weird.
Yeah, the pandering.
Yeah.
But it was a cool scene. And then, and then we get Tony.
We get the scene
giving
where
his last effort.
Where he has the gauntlet. They're trying to stop him with the gauntlet, and you get the part where
with Doctor Strange,
yes,
giving him the kind of the signal, giving him the finger,
giving him the finger, and then Doctor Strange fingered Iron Man. Spoiler alert! If you haven't seen this movie,
which didn't mean, like you said earlier, the finger meant time for Ant-Man to go up the ass.
Yeah, exactly. No, this was the one shot in
this
13
was the one,
million.
This was the one shot, and Tony's technology, his nanotech saved the day. His nanotech able to like pull the
to steal the stones.
Steal the stones. It was great.
Right.
I mean, it's one of those things where like we were saying before,
Thanos' impotent stats.
Oh right. I am inevitable. Stink.
Nothing.
It was. But what I mean, it was surprising yet inevitable. Like it was like you weren't expecting it, but once you did, you're like, oh, of course he can pull the stones. Of course he can manipulate the gauntlet. It's his gauntlet. He's Iron Man.
Yeah.
Right. And it was perfect. And then I am inevitable, which there harkens back to what he was saying earlier when he found out that he knew he was going to win. It was inevitable, and then it didn't happen.
Right.
And then of course you got the.
And then he had nothing else to say after that.
Yeah.
I'm inevitable. I'm Iron Man. Yeah, that was. I mean, that was a badass. That was like a swelling up with like pride. Like fuck yeah, you are. God damn it, Tony Stark.
Right.
And then the sad.
And then he died.
And the sad end funeral scene. Oh, one thing I didn't touch. We didn't say anything about was we saw Rescue.
Oh yeah,
we saw
which was really cool,
dude. Yeah, I got once again I was hard. It was I was like, God dang, okay, Pepper Potts, here we go, like ready to kick some ass. A little bit of foreshadowing,
and
with
it
his
makes
daughter wearing
sense
the mask.
that she would be as adept with the armor as she was, because that was like she had like 5 years to practice that.
So
at least
it didn't feel forced like it would if it didn't have that. 5 years.
So like her and Tony teaming up in the air and doing cool stuff together, like that seemed natural because it's like, of course she would be that good at it.
Exactly.
So there was that time that had gone on.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so we get to the end. Iron Man. We know he wins. I mean, we know it happens. He snaps. He kills all their forces. Then we cut to the funeral scene, which is of course you kind of get to see that Nick's alive, and I forgot her name, the other agent of Shield. You could see her standing off in the background.
Oh,
I always forget her name.
Mariah Hill.
Yeah. Mariah Hill. Yeah. She's back.
There. The kid from Iron Man 3 is there.
Yeah, the young kid. At first, I had to Google that. I didn't know. I was like, "Who the fuck is this kid?"
Oh yeah.
And I was like, "Secret love child or what?" And then, no, it's that kid.
Yeah.
Maybe he's gonna play a pivotal role moving forward. Maybe he could be somebody interesting.
So
he's the new Iron Man.
So he must have got snapped then, if he was still kind of younger.
He wasn't that young. He was teenage age.
I don't think he got snapped.
Okay.
He looked like he was about 18. 17, 18.
Okay.
So
which would be appropriate.
Then there's the will, the reading of the will, the hologram reading of the will, which harkens back to which kind of was sadder than his death.
Right.
Because 3,000.
Right. Yeah, that was.
But it was a good. I mean, man, this movie closed off the threads that it had opened.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely an end to the first phase, but it also left me super excited to see where they go from here.
You get to the end of the funeral scene and everything's wrapped up but Captain America's storyline, and then they're sent him back to get the stones back, and then I thought they did a really good job of wrapping that up too. Basically, like
right, and he went back with me.
Even though they didn't show it, you got to see that everything that from the first Captain America movie, everything he missed out of when he was asleep, he got to have.
Right.
So
yeah. Yeah, so he went on and lived his life.
He got that last dance. He got to live. So
with Peggy, he got his just desserts or whatever.
And so let's talk about him being there on the bench.
Okay.
So, there's that bit of confusion, and then they, of course, the guys go over and see him there on the bench, and he hands over the Captain America shield. Of course, now he's the old man.
Mm-hmm.
He went and lived his life. So there's going to be a show with Bucky and Falcon. I think they teased it as Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but they're probably going to call it Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
A show?
Yeah, there's going to be a show on Disney Plus.
Okay. Well, because I was not excited about the prospect of a movie. I like what's that actor's name? Terrence from 8 Mile. Terrence's parents had a real nice marriage. You guys remember that? Remember? He was in 8 Mile.
Are you talking about the Falcon?
Yeah, Falcon.
Anthony Mackie.
Anthony Mackie. He's a good actor. I just don't know if I'm open to seeing, just put the Cap character to bed. If he wants to be like the American Falcon or Captain Falcon or some hybrid of the two, don't try to shoehorn him in. I know it's a precedent in the comics.
Right, they did that in the comics, but here's the thing.
I don't like Bucky as Cap either. Put Cap to bed. Cap is done.
Right. Well, okay, so with the comics, though, and I brought this up when you and I walked out of the theater initially, it's like they're cheating, okay?
Yeah.
They're totally cheating. They've been planning all this stuff out for years. Okay, all this stuff with Captain America, passing on his legacy to the Falcon. Like they've only done that within like the past few years in the comics. So I kind of feel like when they do these things that are hearkening to the comics, it's only hearkening to the comics from like a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's like they've been planning this stuff all along. So stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it. Like if you want to hearken to comics like from 20 years ago or 15 years ago or whatever, back before you had all these big movie plans, then okay, fine. But anyway. Rant end.
Yeah. I like little notes.
It was a good movie, man. I am super excited to see all the upcoming movies: Guardians of the Galaxy 3, the next Black Panther, the next Doctor Strange, most soon to come Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Yeah,
there's some good movies coming down the pipe that I am excited to see how they progress forward. I hope they leave all this divergent timeline bullshit in this movie. I hope they put an end to it there. I don't want to see any revisiting of time travel. They did a good job. They didn't do too much. They didn't do too little.
Who knows what we're going to see with Loki now?
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. Well, if it's the show though, okay, let's do that. Let's keep the Marvel shows different. I don't want to see Anthony Mackie and
supposedly the shows are supposed to interact with the movies in a big way this time.
Oh God.
Wow.
No. You can't expect it. It puts too much pressure on the fan. I'm not gonna, as a big Marvel fan, I'm not gonna watch the shows. I don't have time.
Let's talk about all that
on another
we'll have a podcast about what we expect to come from the Marvel universe. But as far as this thing, this has been a pretty good discussion. I think about our thoughts are basically a review of the aspects of the movie.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's wrap it up. Ron, take us out.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you all for listening. Again, we're still a new channel, so don't forget to hit like, subscribe to us. Ring the bell for notifications. That way you'll get notified when we upload new videos. Right now we're uploading a new video every single week. So be sure to hit the notification bell so you'll know when that video gets uploaded.
Also, make sure to follow us on Facebook at 3 Scoops Podcast, and you can find us on Instagram at 3.scoops.707.
And also leave us a comment. We are very interested in your guys' feedback. So let us know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what we need to improve. We're open to listening to you guys. So thank you all very much for listening, especially if you listened all the way through. We appreciate you guys. And that's going to be it from us. 3 Scoops Podcast. I'm Ron.
I'm Kel.
I'm Rob.
Thanks for listening, guys. Bye.
Thanks.